What's going on, gamers? We got a crazy video here to answer some of our questions that we thought about when the PlayStation 5 price hike has hit. And boy, let me tell you, it's terrible in Japan. Whatever Sony thought that they could do to reverse in Japan, they just pretty much killed. And we're going to find out in this video right here. It gets pretty interesting in Japan. I can't wait to see European and US sales. Do I think that's going to be a little bit different? But Japan responded significantly different. It says PS5 price hike hits Japan hard as PS5 Pro sales sink to Xbox levels. And so when you're thinking about this, you're like, wait, hold on. Come on now. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, Did you just say PS5 Pro sales, PlayStation 5 2 have synced to Xbox levels? Holy, that's crazy. We're talking about in Japan. Even when Xbox was selling well, it's not like it was ever dominating in Japan. So going down here, it says there's really no reason to purchase a non-language locked PS5 console in Japan after Sony's latest price hike, and the market has responded. And going down to here, we get the idea. It says for the context, here are the sales of all consoles in Japan last week with lifetime sales in parentheses. The Switch 2 hit 60,000. PS5 Digital is 12,000, right? Switch OLED is 7,468. This is Switch 1, 4,807. PS5 Pro is 840. Sales. What the hell? PS5, 558. The digital edition still has, it's the Japanese model, right? It's like, that's what I'm thinking. Xbox Series X, 525, and Xbox Series X DE, 278, and the S, 129. Whoa, that's crazy, man. The PS5 Pro just basically died there, along with the other model. And it says right here, these numbers are non-existent in comparison to the PS5 Digital Edition, which is available in the cheaper Japanese language only format. So Japan is basically only wanting to focus on that now, that cheaper model. So they better be glad they at least did that. It says that model sold 12,148 units throughout the aforementioned period for a total of 13,539 units across all SKUs. But the Switch 1 pretty much matched that, or beat it actually, with 14,000. But looking at the PS5 Pro, they just don't care. I mean, this is not good at all. Because the lifetime sales are 341,000. Not that Sony wouldn't want to take that, you know what I mean? I mean, you'll take what you can take. But that price increase response is not good. And you know how many games they've announced and what games are coming. And they just don't care. The Switch 2 still at 60,000. If you add the Switch family together, we kind of get that idea. Because even the original Switch was 4,000. You got Switch Lite and Switch OLED. So all together, they're still doing very good. But the response of the base worldwide model, which is for everybody, the same price that we pretty much have over here, and the PS5 Pro is just basically non-existent. They're only going to choose the Japanese version because that's the only price that they see as it being worth to them. Serious stuff over here. Sony increased the price of the PS5 hardware on the 2nd of April, as we knew. And in Japan, if you look at the PS5D Japan edition, it's $344. If you go to the PS5 Digital, it's $562. And the PS5 is $612 and the Pro is $862. So they're only paying attention to this model. Everybody pretty much ignored this. This is the Japanese edition, as we see right here. Japanese edition. Damn. It says, so it costs almost twice as much as the language lock model to buy a disc-based PS5 console, making the decision a no-brainer. Sony said it has no plans to increase the price of the Japan-only edition just yet. Hopefully by that time things get better in the market, and they shouldn't. We'd expect to see the sales of the multi-language models and the more expensive PS5 Pro continue to collapse locally over time. We can imagine Sony will be selling many of those domestically until it can reduce prices. Yeah, it's not working. We see that. But of course, this puts increasing pressure on PlayStation in its home market as the Switch 2 continues to sell at a lightning pace. It already surpassed 5 million units compared to the PS5 7.5 million units since it came out. And the former's been out less than a year. As we know, they love their handhelds over there as well. And Nintendo, they do a good job with the pricing and the first-party games. They never abandon Japan. So, of course, that's going to happen. And here's the thing, if they want anything to change, you're going to have to get those prices down. It's not going to work. Exactly how Sony intends to address this issue remains to be seen, but it's clear the company still cares about its home market. It wouldn't have introduced a language locked model at all if it wasn't trying to compete domestically after all. Yes, the method that Nintendo had used. And I have to tell you, this is just an eye opener, at least in the Japanese market. That's what also gave them a nice edge when they were competing with Xbox back then, because they had that nice bonus being added in. If you want to compete with Nintendo, you can't give them 97% of this, because worldwide they're always going to be able to make up that ground in Europe that you're taking over in Japan. And then in USA, it's kind of like, you know, a battle. But as time passes on, they got GTA 6 to help them out overseas. But Japan is not, overseas from a Japanese standpoint. So they're not going to sit there and go crazy for GTA 6 to get a PS5 Pro. They'll just get that Japanese $344 edition and play the game like that. If they love the Switch 2, then that should tell you that they're not, graphic cores, and they're not really like that. So they'll give you an answer on that. Going down to some comments. Ultimate Otaku says, with sales like this, it won't be long before they reverse the price increase. Well, in Japan, at least. I can't wait to see what's going on in Europe and in America for that. Selling hardware for cheaper, but selling more of it is surely a better outcome than selling hardware that costs more, but in return getting less sales. Yeah, because you're not making all your money off of hardware anyways. The point of the hardware is so that you can make your most money, what you're making off of microtransactions, third-party sales, first-party sales, PlayStation Plus, sales on the shop, you know what I mean? And accessories, like it's everything outside of that one hardware price. You're gonna make way more money off of those other aspects. So that's why I don't understand why you wouldn't subsidize, depending on how ridiculous this market is. I mean, I think there's that and the GTA manipulation that they're gonna try to tank off, because that was the whole point of getting all those sales in the holidays. So this is why PlayStation 5 was the best-selling console over the last holiday period, because they had a decent sale on the consoles. More customers mean more game sales, more PlayStation Plus subscribers, and more people buying MTX. They're starting to get a cutoff. That's what I was saying. Royalty, third-party royalty, MTX, buying video games, subscribing to PlayStation Plus, and all that other stuff. Selling hardware for cheaper is offset by this. Raising the prices was the wrong decision. I can't say anything against that. It's a good statement. Switch, $16,300. PS5, $13,500. We added all the family. This is Switch 1. And that, with the PS5 Japanese only model, highly subsidized. Well, Nintendo's probably earning money with every Switch 1 sold. That is the worst part of the story. He has a good point there. That's where they're very smart and they know how to play the game and they don't make those type of mistakes. It's like, I think that they should keep the Switch 2 at $450 for as long as they can and never touch that Japanese model. Hopefully this happens in all the countries. These companies need to realize charging this much for a €5 console is ridiculous. Consoles are sold at a loss, but game sales and subscriptions make up for it. That's how it's always been. For sure. And back then, the prices went down and you didn't even have microtransactions. In those older days, GameCube days, with online, season pass and all that, it was not there. So you're making way more now than all the other ones combined. So you should subsidize because you can take that loss. That's what I've always thought about that. It says here in the UK, I know Argos are still selling at the pre-price increase. I think very R2 on some of their bundles. Then he responds to Ultimate Otaku's up there saying, mostly yes. However, if you're a PS5 owner that doesn't buy new games, only pre-owned single player, and doesn't subscribe to PlayStation Network, then selling a console at a loss is a problem, especially given the current economic climate where people are looking to cut subscriptions and save money where they can. It is true, but PlayStation Plus is still doing fine. It's far safer to sell a console at a cost these days and preferably at a profit. However, I do think digital-only consoles should be subsidized as they lock the consumer into the digital storefront and eliminate access to the second-hand market. True. That's why Nintendo's doing what they're doing with that when it comes to digital being cheaper. It's like, it should be though, because you don't have to pay Walmart, Target, Best Buy, Amazon for all that physical stuff, make the physical copy, the case and all that, the CD. You just put the digital license and you make more profit off of it. So it should be cheaper. 95% of the PlayStation sales are the digital edition. Wow. Yeah. I mean, people are kind of getting this idea here. I want you guys to let me know what you think about this. Are you shocked by how this tanked down right here? This doesn't surprise me because Japan can mostly be Japanese only, right? With this Japanese digital edition, they're okay with that. They've always been like that. You know what I mean? And then they just share their Japanese only light with the world and people love it. They'll come visit their territories and all that. But if they can just do Japanese only and they're saving themselves money, they're okay with that and keeping that community going just like that. Not that they wouldn't mind getting overseas, but they're not going to pay that much more when it's the same thing because that to them is not intelligent. So they're not going to do that. And I think we get that idea here right now. So next we need to get Christopher Dring to give us European sales. And then we can't wait to see what Matt Piscatella is going to say for America. But, you know, that takes a whole month, whereas Dring and Famitsu are giving you weekly sales. So we got our first look here. at the response of Japan when it comes to the price hikes. They're saying, I don't think so. Pass. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think. Interesting stuff here. Later.